Welcome back to Life's Children. My name is Avital, and this week's Parshat is Parshat Vayishlach. And Parshat Vayishlach begins with the preparations for a big reunion, a big family reunion, I should say. It's the reunion between Jacob and Esav. Now, if you remember going back a couple of Parshas, we left Jacob and Esav in not such a good place with each other. Jacob had taken the firstborn blessing that typically would go to the firstborn, being Esav, in a whole series of events that you can check out if you go back a couple weeks. But Jacob had taken this blessing from Esav, and Esav's reaction was, "Oh, I'm going to kill my brother Jacob once our father Isaac dies." And when Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Esav's parents, when they hear that Esav wants to kill Jacob, they tell Jacob to flee, to go back to their homeland and to find himself a wife and to marry and to settle there until Esav's temper cools down. And that's exactly what Jacob did. As we saw sort of in last week's Parsha, he goes and he marries Rachel and Leah, and he has the maidservants Bilhah and Zilpah, and they have 11 of the 12 tribes in last week's Parsha, 11 children. And Jacob becomes very successful. And towards the end of the Parsha, he decides it's time to leave his father-in-law Laban's household, and he takes his wives, and he takes his children, and all of the livestock that he has amassed, all of the wealth, and he starts to head back to the land of Canaan, which is now modern-day Israel. So Jacob heads back, and on the way, he gets word that he and Esav are making their way towards one another. So they're going to have this reunion. And Jacob is really nervous about it, again, because the last time he saw his brother Esav was wanting to kill him. So you can understand why he was scared. And so Jacob decides that he needs to try and appease his brother. So, he sends servants ahead with gifts, and he says, tell Esav that it's your sort of humble servant, Jacob, who's coming towards you. And the Torah tells us, though, that Jacob was very afraid. He said, the servants told Jacob, they said, Esav is coming toward you, and 400 men are with him. So again, this would be intimidating, especially if you think somebody's going to kill you, because we know that Jacob, when he arrives in Canaan, he's with a total of 70 people. That includes the women and the children. So it's not like he has a powerful army, and here are 400 men coming towards him and his family. The Torah continues, Jacob became very frightened and was distressed. So he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and the cattle and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, if Esav comes to one camp and strikes it down, the remaining camp will escape. So Jacob is creating this entire plan for what's going to happen when he encounters Esav, and if Esav has malicious intentions towards him and his family. So he splits everything he has into 2 camps, into 2 separate parties, everything divided equally. That way, if something happens to one, the other remains and perseveres and will carry on the traditions that Jacob instilled. So his plan works with appeasing Esav, and the reunion goes very smoothly, and they do end up parting ways decently amicably, I would say. And Jacob and his family continue, and they end up in the land of Canaan towards the end of the Parsha, and have the 12th child, who is Binyamin. And then Rachel dies in childbirth with Binyamin, and that is sort of where our Parsha wraps up. And what I thought was very interesting about this lesson that we could see from Jacob going ahead and dividing everything he had into 2 camps, it's the value of being prepared, of having a plan. Now, none of us should ever be in this situation like Jacob is, where he's dividing up even his children, his wives, everything he owns into these 2 camps in case one is sort of annihilated, that the other will survive. We should not hopefully be in a place where we have to think that fatalistically. But it could be something as simple as, making extra food for Shabbat if guests are coming over in case somebody unexpected comes over. Or if you're on vacation and you have a bunch of activities planned, having a backup plan for one of them just in case something falls through. It could be something that simple, or you could think about how we teach our children from the time they're in preschool. As soon as they get into school, we teach them, they have fire drills at school. Not to scare them about fires, but to prepare them, to equip them with the tools that they need. Should there, God forbid, be a fire, that they should be as calm as possible and know exactly how to get out of a building and how to protect themselves from fire, from danger. Preparedness, knowledge, it is that power for us. It does give us the best chance of survival, the best opportunities, the best chance for enjoyment and pleasure and fun. We shouldn't catch up our lives constantly preparing for the worst, but it is important to have plans in place within our families, for ourselves, within our household, for activities in our businesses. It is important to have backup plans in place for when things don't go according to plan. And again, it could be for a good reason or for a bad reason that something didn't go according to plan, but it is so common. How often do things in life go according to plan? And just to be cognizant of that and to recognize that we need to have options if something doesn't go according to plan. What can we do? That way we're not caught in the moment, we're not caught by such surprise, or that we're totally blind and we have no idea what to do when something occurs. I think that's a very important and powerful lesson we can learn from Jacob in this week's Parsha. And I wish you all a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.